Hi, welcome to Mixergy HQ. I'm Roy Fugler, Training Officer for Mixergy. So what we're going to cover on this video is a couple of things that can happen when you first install a cylinder due to the cylinder perhaps being mishandled in transportation and a couple of things coming loose. It's all about when we plug the unit in, power it up, and we're going to be using the gauge to identify what the issue is, and then I'll show you how there's a simple fix which should save you guys having to ring our technical helpline. So this is what will happen if you get the connectivity error, which is normally due to the SD card coming loose in transit. Doesn't happen very often, but it's one of the things that our technical guys get phone calls about, and it's quite simple for you guys to fix. Normally, as you've seen in the previous video when we talked about the gauge, it connects up within about 30 seconds. This will never connect up because it's not picking up the SD card. So we'll go through and I'll show you how to put the SD card back into place, and then we'll repower this one up and it'll go through its normal sequence. So the first thing is make sure that you've isolated both power supplies, because obviously we're going to be going into the control box and there's going to be power in there. So we need to make sure that we're fully isolated before we put our fingers in the box. So we're going to remove the two screws. Once we've got the screws out, the cover just slides off, and the SD card is located on this PCB. It's a Raspberry Pi PCB for those guys that are very technical, and occasionally that little SD card there just slips down in transit, and it's just a case of pushing it back in place and making sure that it's locked in. Then we can put the cover on, power it up. So we've now put the SD card back in place and it's searching for the Wi-Fi. Like I said earlier, this normally takes up to 30 seconds. Now, because the top light's stopped, it knows the Wi-Fi signal's there, so it's going to go on to its self-check, which is what we covered in a previous video. So the next common fault that our technical guys get phone calls about on a new install is where the immersion heater overheat has tripped, normally due to being rattled about in transit. So what's going to happen, it's going to go through, search for the Wi-Fi, which it will find, and then it's going to go through self-diagnostics, and it checks various sensors and various other things. So what we're going to see is when the lights start to come on, we'll notice that one of the lights won't be green, it will be red, and that's going to be the immersion light, which is the fourth one down from the top. So it's indicating we've got a fault with the immersion. So that's normally on a new install, it's down to the overheat reset as accidentally being tripped, and we're going to show you how to reset that next. So the error light on the gauge was indicating that we had an immersion heater problem. So first thing we need to do is access the immersion heaters. Again, we've got the power turned off, making sure that it's electrically safe. So it's just a case of removing the screw and just remove the panel. So you can see we've got the immersion heater in there, and we've got the two thermostats. We've got the main thermostat and the secondary thermostat. So just to double check, we've got the multimeter set up. I'm going to put it onto the beep test because I'm checking through a switch. So it's on the beep test, and I'm just going to put the light on there just so it's a little bit easier to see. So I'm just going to check that it's beeping. So we know we've got a beep. So I'm now going on to the immersion heater live, and I'm going to check just where it comes through onto the live connection on the stat, and there's no continuity. So that indicates that I've got a broken circuit. Just under the inside there in that little hole, that's where the thermostat reset is. So it's just a case of I'm going to use the multimeter probe, click that in, and then when I recheck it, I've now got continuity through there. So when I put the power back on and I need to use the immersion heater, everything will be okay, and it'll go through the self-check and prove that we've now got a circuit. If it didn't do it, we'd do the same on this side.